My name is Haifaa Mansour, and I am a filmmaker from Saudi Arabia. I started making films when I was working in an oil company, and it was really hard for me, just fresh graduate of college, to assert myself. It's very like man's world and all that, and I was always passed for promotion or moving forward. And it wasn't just because I'm not working, just like as there is always a man with a family who deserves the promotion more than I. So it was like, for me, it felt like I felt frustrated as a young person. And I started making film just as a hobby. When I was a kid, I used to do a lot of plays in school, and I used to write them. They were very simple. If you pray, you go to hell. If you don't pray, you go to hell. If you pray, you go to heaven. They were very simple. But for me, it was really fun to deal with telling a story to the world. And I wanted to go to that happy place. So I started making short films, and I sent my first short film, which I done with my family. My brother was holding the camera, my sister doing the light. So it was a very family affair. And we sent it to a competition in Abu Dhabi and got accepted, and they sent me a ticket and everything, and I went, and all of a sudden I felt like I matter, I exist as a person. And that is when I decided just like to continue, because it gave me that self-esteem. It gave me that voice that I could not have as a woman in Saudi Arabia. Although things are changing now, but growing up there, it was just like the need to have my existence and have the voice. That is when I started making films. Well, observing a lot of things around me, I feel people who are just militant and trying to be forceful and driving change are never successful, especially where I come from. I think people respect that you talk to them and you open your heart. And I felt like I want to continue making films, and I want to grow. And there is no point, anger would not allow that. And it is hard to sustain it. It's hard to just like deal with bureaucratic systems sometimes, or deal with societies that are very conservative and don't accept change all of a sudden. But I think, and it pays off, patience pays off if you, especially with cinema, for example, which in Saudi Arabia, cinema was illegal for so long. It's just being open now. It is hard for people to accept, yet alone accept the medium and accept the message. So I think just trying to build is important, and trying to build step by step and move forward is very important, to have a goal and be focused, rather than just be angry and militant and nothing happens. Working hard is, and for the long run, might be more exhausting, but it's way more, pays a lot more. The story is about a young girl who witnesses her mother going through a very, she's very compassionate to her mother. And it is hard sometimes if her mother is singing, or, for example, in a society like Saudi, where women, let alone singers, are under a lot of pressure. So it is her story trying to figure it out and help her, and finding that kind of resolution within her. And for me, I always felt like a wedding is like the actual mirror of societies in Saudi Arabia, because we are segregated and society is fragmented. People don't get together so much except in weddings or schools, and those are the places where people come as a society together. And so it's very much important to find the dynamics and the class system within a society, and it is very striking in a wedding, especially the wedding singer and the party. There is a lot of pressure on them to stand when the music is illegal, when the music is forbidden, and there are women doing music. There's so much happen with it. And so for me, I wanted to capture that tenderness and that kind of tension between the bigger society and for people who entertain and supposed to be celebrated for entertaining and bringing joy. And that doesn't happen necessarily in a place like Saudi Arabia. So for me, I always felt I wanted to tell the stories of those people. For me, the little girl represents really the future, and represent like, I wrote this script as part of a bigger script. And for the bigger script is like she tries to run for elections, and she tries to escape this past. She doesn't want to do anything with the music. At the end, she understands her strength is coming from belonging to this family, from understanding what it means to be an outsider. So I think the future belongs to outsiders. people who did not necessarily grow up with a system, who did not want to satisfy the system as much as finding their own voice, even if they want to fit in at a certain point. I think being out of it creates something special. And that is the moment where something in her, she knew that she's different and she knew that she needs to work really hard to be like everybody else. No, absolutely. It's going to be a look and different experience now shooting in Saudi Arabia, especially now that cinemas are illegal and I have backing and funding from the government. So I will not be hiding in a van and I will be able to shoot in the streets and it's a lot more relaxed. And that will allow me to be more engaged with the art and not to worry about like if we have to leave a location very quickly because people are upset. I think just having it more legalized, the whole cinema production in Saudi Arabia, whether providing permits and logistic help on the streets, that means a lot to me as a filmmaker. And I really look forward to being able to just normally shoot back home in Saudi. That would be amazing. I'm really proud of Miu Miu doing all those women stories because it's very important for women to tell their stories, and sometimes it's hard, especially for an industry like filmmaking, because film is very much controlled by men as financiers or producers and definitely as directors. And now we see there is a push for women to have a voice and to move forward within the industry. And not only move forward, have a safe working environment within the industry. Like it's one of those industries where there's a lot of harassment against women and all that. And it is really nice now that there is a debate about it. And there is, but what we need to get from as women, it is just like not to let things like this stop us or direct us from being focused on what we want to achieve. And what we want to achieve is make beautiful, for me at least as a filmmaker, is to make beautiful films. And that is my goal. It's not like to condemn someone or to engage in a place where it is all about, I think it is, for me, is like to seize that moment and be able to get more finance, hopefully for films, and get more beautiful films by women done. And that is what we should aim at, like how to create working opportunities for women. And I think women also need to support each other and create that kind of solidarity, whether behind the camera or in front of the camera. And for women, female stars should also, because any star, whether it's a man or a woman, have power. And it's very important to also be able to give that part of the power to female, to the other women in the industry. And so we will not move alone. We have to move together as women and create that kind of movement where we are focused on finding opportunities and making the best out of them. I think, there's a lot of pressure on women to succeed. And there is always, if one woman doesn't succeed, that's like all women cannot make it. That's it. One woman gets a chance, and if she doesn't make it, we all can't make it. But I think, I really deeply think women in leadership are amazing because they are mothers and they are nurturing. They're very assertive too. And that is what you need in a leadership. You don't want someone who just doesn't have compassion and excludes others. And I feel if we bring that kind of motherhood into any workplace, it definitely will succeed. That is how you build relationships and how that we can create an environment where people achieve their best. And for me, that is what you want as a filmmaker to do, is you want your cinematographer to give you the best. The sound guy just to give you his best job, because you really can't do everything. So it is them, if you give them that chance to shine, that is what will carry you as a filmmaker. And I think it is very important. And I think women will do amazing job on that, giving that space for people around them. And that is why now we see a lot of successful female filmmakers. Like Wonder Woman did amazing. Like Box Office, it's directed by a woman and starred by a woman. So there is no argument now, women do not bring money. We can dominate the box office, and it is really an amazing moment now.